that surprise. Thank you, Jerry, for some really kind words, and especially coming from Jerry, who is also in turn a hero of mine. When we first started CBA, a bunch of people it really just started. I came from like Little Canada, which was maybe many of you probably don't even remember that or heard about it, but in the mid-60s I grew up as a kid in the French-Canadian community that had been here since the 1880s. And I had an Aunt Rose who was, she was everything to me as a child. And she had lived there all her life for over 60 years. And somebody in their wisdom came up with an idea that the best way to serve poor people and who have bad housing was to just come out there and just tear it down, throw them out, build it somewhere else, and look the other way. That happened to my Aunt Rose, and I'm sorry to say it ended up killing her, because I remember her telling me when I was about 11 years old that if they moved me out of here, I don't want to live anymore. The very place that she lived for 65 years was just stripped out from under her. She never had a voice in it. Nobody even knew who was doing it. And then as a little kid, I'm watching this all happen. One day, a building is being torn down, another friend gets moved out, another building is being torn down. The only thing we had in common is that we were poor. And all of a sudden, we didn't matter. And, and I didn't understand it all, but I knew it was wrong. But I couldn't do anything about it. And then I saw my Aunt Rose finally being forced out after about a year of this. And she was forced out and sent across the river to Centreville. And literally a week after she was forced out, she died. That stuck with me for a long time. And then when I was coming out in the early 80s, all of a sudden they were coming up with a whole new plan, because now they were going to revitalize the downtown. And they basically said, we need to clear this neighborhood out. And what they basically were aiming at were Latino families in the neighborhood and other families in the neighborhood. They didn't feel like belonging there anymore. And we said, damn it, this is not going to happen again this time. I couldn't do anything about it as a child. I'm not going to sit back, and my friends are not going to sit back and let this happen again. We didn't know what that meant, but we knew it wasn't going to happen again. And that meant that we were going to show up at City Hall, we were going to fight, and we were going to stop it from happening. We finally were enabled by just doing that. They couldn't do it, they couldn't stop us, but we needed to get some support. And that's when Jerry came in, and we hired Jerry. We were fortunate enough to come up with some money, and we got somebody to come in. They had some expertise. They could work with us on how to build housing and how to do things. And we said, we're going to turn that housing, instead of just having that housing built for somebody else, we're going to do it for people who live there. But more importantly than just the housing, we felt like we needed to bring people together so that we could have the power to not just address housing, but everything else in our community. And we just needed to prove to people that as long as you stick together, you work together, it didn't matter if you had a lot of money, what mattered is that you worked together and you committed yourself to making change, and you were willing to fight for it. And I remember telling the families, the last thing I'm going to say is that when people were wondering, how are we going to stop this? I told the story about my Aunt Rose. And I wanted them to know the shame I lived with for years, because I wondered why nobody did anything to stop this. And I just wanted to make sure that nobody ever felt that shame. So I said to people, I can't guarantee you we'll win if we fight this thing. But I know we can't win if we don't fight it. But at least, do you want 20 years from now, if you lose this fight, do you want your children coming out to you and saying, Daddy or Mommy, why didn't you do anything about this? You will at least be able to say to them, no, we didn't step aside. We fought and we made a change. And we proved it could be done. And there's just so many people that, gave so much of themselves to make this happen. So many people I see in this room and all. And what was more importantly was we built an organization that would last 30 years out. And there's so many people I don't even know here. And that's the beauty of it. Because we wanted to prove it wasn't about one person, it wasn't about two people, it wasn't about three people, it was about collectively working together to make change. And that vision still lives, and I want to thank all the people who have continued that vision. It makes me proud to be here tonight and see the people who have made that change and continue to fight to keep their community strong. Keep up the fight, and I love all of you. Thank you.